Good morning. We've got a really full agenda, so I'm going to be very brief and introduce our speaker. I did want to say to all of you who are from Grand Rapids that this has really been a great meeting, and we have appreciated the hospitality of Grand Rapids and all the people that have helped make this as successful as it's been. I think I'm one of the few people who have been to virtually every meeting of CEOs for Cities for over the last decade or so, and this had a vitality to it that I have rarely seen, and it's really because of the Grand Rapids hosts that have worked so hard with our people to make it successful. So thank you, Grand Rapids. I'm just introducing a person that all of you in Grand Rapids certainly know, and he works for a company that all of you know, and that's Doug DeVos, who's president of Amway. I was looking at his bio, and he has a pretty interesting background. He was born well. His father was a co-founder of Amway, so got off to a good start. But he didn't stop there, and he has been successful in everything he's done, and he's now the president of Amway, and it's a company that you'll hear more about. I've asked him to tell a little bit about the Amway story. I also note on his resume that he's very active in the community, and as all of you know, working in your various cities, it's not always easy to get the CEOs of the larger companies really engaged in the community. And when you have someone like Doug, who has been involved in the civic and business organizations that you would hope that he would work at, his resume clearly shows that he has done that. He went to Purdue University, and he played football there. And he's in the Hall of Fame, but not for football. He's in the U.S. Direct Selling Association Hall of Fame because of Amway. And maybe he's in the Football Hall of Fame at Purdue, too. But we've asked Doug to tell us a little bit about the Amway story and to welcome all of you here to Grand Rapids. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely not in the Purdue Football Hall of Fame. And if you've been following Purdue football, it's hard for us to even claim we have a football team anymore. But we'll try to move on from there. It's an honor for me to be here and have a chance to welcome you here to our city, and hope that you've had a great time. All of you who are from the Board of CEOs for Cities, members, participants with this organization, all the mayors who are here as well, welcome again. And as Bob mentioned, this is a town where everybody likes to get out and get together and welcome you and say, hey, we're all part of this community. So I hope you've had a chance to meet a lot of local friends who've been part of this event, either preparing for it or helping to host it. I will try to be very brief and try to connect the Amway story a bit with the Grand Rapids story. As Bob mentioned, my father and his partner, Jay Van Andel, started Amway, but their story starts in high school. They were friends in high school, and they always said they wanted to be in business together. And that was they would talk about it all the time. And this was the time of World War II. So they, right after high school, went off to serve, and they would write letters back and forth. Someday this war is going to end. Someday we're going to get in business together. And when the war ended, they got back. They started their first business was just up the river here, and it was a flight school called Wolverine Air Service. They taught people how to fly. And the interesting part of that story is they didn't know how to fly. But that never stopped them. They would get customers, and they'd hire the instructors and teach people how to fly. And then they saw, sometimes you're a little weather dependent, and sometimes when it gets dark, you can't fly anymore. So they started the drive-in restaurant, kind of right next to the airport. Now, they'd never been in the restaurant business before either. And they would say to everybody, you should all be in the restaurant business. Once. It's hard business. They said, everybody wants to eat at the same time. If you could just control the flow through, it would be so much easier. Well, they did that for a while, and then they decided that they wanted a sailing adventure. And so they sailed to the Caribbean. They traded the airplanes, got out of the airplane business, or the flight school business, and bought a boat. And the boat leaked a lot. And they made it all the way to Cuba before they sank. They sank off the coast of Cuba. were rescued, brought to Puerto Rico, hopped freighters and tankers to get down to South America and continued on with their trip. They never came back. Even though their boat sank, they didn't come back after the trip, and which their parents still had a lot of problems with because they didn't even know that they had sunk because they never called. You know, so like our kids today, right? Don't you call? Don't you write? Anything, everything. You got all this communication technology and never tell us what you're doing. So when they got back, they founded this business called Nutrilite. They became Nutrilite salesmen. Nutrilite was a company that was founded in California about nutrition. And it was all about, it was the focus of this product about helping people live a healthier life. And it was the founder was really the inventor of the multivitamin, and he was always worried that we weren't getting enough nutrition in our diet. So Dad and Jay became Nutrilite salesmen. They did that for 10 years. They built a big business in the direct selling industry. And then for a variety of reasons, they left Nutrilite and said, we want to shift it a little bit away from just being all about the product to being about giving people an opportunity to have a business of their own. It was the free enterprise spirit in the 1950s, and we want people to, that's the American way, and thus the name Amway. Today's Amway operates all over the world, and at one point when we first went to Canada, we thought, gosh, does American Way in Canada still work? It's the 1960s. Maybe we should call it Canway. Now, operating in about 100 countries and territories around the world today, can you imagine how confused we would be as an organization if we had changed our name for every country we'd operated in? Today's Amway, we're located a little bit outside of town with about 4,500 employees there, manufacturing facilities, hundreds of people in R&D facilities out there, and connected. And many of you saw the Grid 70 facility. We're part of that with a number of our friends here in the community. But it's that adventurous attitude that I tell of the Amway story that leads us back to Grand Rapids in 1979. This is where they were born. Dad and Jay were from Grand Rapids. This was home. And when downtown Grand Rapids was struggling and a few business leaders started to talk about what to do about it, they jumped in with both feet. And they purchased the Amway, the Grand Plaza Hotel, which at that point was the Pantland Hotel, which was really in a bad spot. And the beauty of that story is they'd never been in the hotel business before. They really didn't know what they were doing. And they'll tell you, they really didn't know what they were doing. They were very open about that. But they believed in Grand Rapids. They believed in their city, and they wanted to be part of the solution. That's why they got engaged. That's why they jumped in. And they weren't the only ones. There was a lot of people who jumped in. And if you look around town, you'll see a lot of names. President Ford determined to put his museum here in Grand Rapids. And President and Mrs. Ford were laid to rest here as well. Many other names around the community: Fry, Kennedy, Cook, Secchia, the building we're in right now, Lemon, Meyer, Holton, Lax, Eberhard, Seidman, and then companies, Steelcase, Amway, and others. Lots of these families, lots of these people who just simply said, we have an adventurous attitude. We want to be engaged in this community as well. We want to be part of the solution. And so a few folks kind of took that from just that spirit, that adventurous attitude, and created an organization called Grand Vision and started to kind of put some of the pieces together. We need a convention center. We need a sporting arena. We need a few of these things, performing arts center. We need a few of these sorts of things. And they began to create Grand Vision. That was my brother, Dick, and John Canepa and David Fry, who got together. And then the community developed from that Grand Action, where they took some of those ideas and they said, here's what that looks like. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's how we're going to partner with our public officials. And here's how we're going to do something like this as a community. And people donated all the way from putting their names on buildings to putting their names on bricks. Everybody in the community became part of something special. And that's really the spirit that we have here in Grand Rapids. And that's really the story that we want to express to you and help you understand and see why we love our city and why people jump in from all over the community to be part of this. Well, you've seen that because you were on a walking tour yesterday. You've seen a lot of things that have happened around, and I hope you've enjoyed it. You've seen the commitment that we've made to sustainability. We have more LEED certified buildings here in Grand Rapids per capita than any other community. We used to be known for having more churches than bars. And we still got a lot of churches, and that's great, but being Beer City, USA kind of put that a little out of kilter. And I guess, Lee, a lot of people are figuring that out. A lot of bars around this place today. But I hope everyone's having a great time as you get involved. We believe the buildings are wonderful. But what's most important are the people. What's happening inside those buildings, the people that are engaged, the people that are part of the solution, the people that are creating new ideas and new solutions for the future. It's the next generation of folks that are thinking of things that we've never thought of before, that are going to take our community forward. And if all those buildings and if that sustainable infrastructure is in place, then we know we're going to have a chance to attract people here. A building like this, an adventurous spirit that says, let's have the conference in an unfinished space and see what we can do there. And look what's been created here. How people can come together, and that's really the story that we have in Grand Rapids, and our belief in people, our belief in our community, our belief in our future. And that belief drives behavior to take some risks, to work together, to realize that we're not in control, but that we're part of something bigger, and hopefully something that we can be a part of making better. And really that's what we're all about. And so we welcome you to Grand Rapids. We're so glad that you're here, that you're part of, I hope you've seen how we feel about our community, but we thank you for being part of it and for adding to it, giving us another excuse to get up and kind of talk to folks and tell a little bit of our story. And we hope it's helpful for you. It's been helpful for us because we hear your stories. So thank you for being here and engaging us and pushing us and showing us the things that are happening around the country as well. And the things that we can learn from and try to be better in our own right. So as part of one of the locals, welcome. We're glad you're here. And we're glad you're participating. And now